All right, welcome everybody. We are giving folks just a few minutes to join in from the waiting room here. We have a large group today, so we're gonna let everybody join in. And while we're doing that, gonna do a few quick housekeeping items as we welcome folks. Hi, Ginger, Jamie, Jess. Looks like we've got a great crowd here today. A few quick housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, we are recording today's session, so we make that recording available on BDX University after our webinar. So you will see that up there in just a couple days. We'll also, your digital marketing consultant will also follow up with a recorded link for you. The other thing I want to make sure we're all on the same page about is we love questions. We really want to hear from you and hear your questions today. If you don't understand something, if you want more clarification, if you have heard of something different, you want to understand better, use that chat box there on your screen, or there's also a more formal Q&A box. So whatever floats your boat, we just want to hear from you. So type in your questions and we're going to answer them throughout the webinar, but we'll also stick around as long as we need to make sure we get you guys covered. And then lastly, I want to thank, oops, sorry about that. I want to go ahead and thank our sponsor. We actually have two webinar sponsors this year, Heat and Glow, which is a hearth and home brand, and Moen. So these are two amazing companies that we work with here at BDX in a lot of different ways. They work with us on our Envision Online Design Center. They partner with us on different industry initiatives. So, so thankful that they're sponsoring this webinar series for us, and encourage you, if you're not familiar with their brands or want to see what's the latest and greatest going on in kind of new home products, go check them out, go connect with them, and tell them you heard them about them on the BDX webinar. So thanks, Heat and Glow. Thanks, Moen. All right. The next thing I want to do is quickly, she probably needs no introduction for a lot of our clients that are on the call, because you guys talk to Wendy a lot, but Wendy is here with us today. Wendy runs our advertising team. She's got a great group there. And she's here to share with you some advertising strategies as we're in that planning process for 2022. And we're all kind of there. We're all either gearing up and gathering information, or maybe you're already pretty deep in the planning process. And we know a lot of you are, because we're having those conversations. So we wanted to kind of pick Wendy's brain and get those really key advertising strategies that are going to help drive your business forward next year. Before we jump into that, just going to set the stage a little bit here for you and talk about a couple things that we go through on a regular basis with our BDX clients and on these webinars. First is talking about the Google Search Index. So the Google Search Index is something that we track here at BDX, and we're tracking, Google search trends around new home terms. So these are home shoppers or people on the internet searching for new home terms. And you can kind of see how this has really changed over, the past, years. So we have seen a big shift, and we've seen it go up for a really long time and then back down again. And I think that, the one thing that we'd point out is that this is also kind of reflected, and we're going to talk in detail about that in just a second. These kind of same shifts are also reflected on builders' websites. So Wendy's got some insight into that coming up. But we're seeing, a slight uptick in over the 3-day weekend in searches, which is pretty typical. But, you can see this, path of kind of downward trend in terms of searches. But we're going to share some other news with you that'll hopefully kind of shape this picture that will help you drive your advertising strategy. So the next piece is just from our friends at John Burns. They do so much great research in our industry, And I think that, you know, for all of us, we look at single family permits and the major leading indicator that you guys are looking at to see what's the market doing, what does the market look like. And as you can see here, there's really strong numbers in many markets, and this is boding well for our builders. I think Wendy and I were talking before the webinar, and, you know, we've seen so many stats that say, you know, 6,000 new communities will be built, you know, in the coming months, more, you know, more volume than we typically see or have seen in a really long time. So we are helping builders prepare for that and prepare for that kind of influx of new communities and those community launches, which are so critical. Couple that with kind of, and I know these are hard to read, but it's not really important to read each specific one. But the point here is, when you look at the news and you look at construction news or real estate news today, it's a little bit all over the place. There are some trends. You know, you're seeing some markets showing signs of cooling off in terms of demand. So what we just looked at was those permits, but then when you look at demand and search traffic, and you've seen some of that cooling off. The other thing that we're looking at here is we kind of follow all these different terms across the country, and we're looking at mortgage demand. We're looking at the housing market in general. We're also looking at just some of the trends that we've seen in construction with supply and demand. That's had a huge impact on our industry and in our planning and our marketing planning, to be honest. And I think the overriding theme that I would tie all of this together with just is, we need to be flexible. We need to be ready to shift and have good plans in place that allow for that. So I think that's really what our team, our advertising and lead gen teams have been focused on with our builders, is making sure that, you know, we've got your back. We're watching the market. We're watching all these shifts. We're watching the news roll in, and we're ready to help you adjust. You know, I think that's so important, and it's such a big part of our advertising programs. You know, you don't set an advertising program and then just leave it alone for a year. And Wendy's probably going to laugh at that, because of course you don't, right? Like you're reviewing your creative, you're reviewing your audiences, you're making sure that you've got the right strategy at any given point in time. And that's really what the BDX team does. But not everybody thinks like that, and not everybody kind of takes it with that approach. So I want to just plant that seed as you're listening today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Wendy and let her take it from here. She's got some great information put together for you guys to walk you through those kind of 5 key strategies. And like I said, questions, keep them coming. We want to hear from you. Don't be shy. All right, Wendy, take it away.
Hello. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Wendy, but if you do, you've probably seen my hair like 10 different colors at any given time. So that's just what I do. No, I like to change my hair. So just the overarching message here is, you know, ever since the pandemic hit, we've all been on this crazy ride, right? So everybody wanted a new house, which is awesome. It benefited new construction, but then we ran into a supply and demand issue, and there were just too many leads. So from advertising, sure, if you don't need to advertise, a lot of people cut back, right? And that was because the market was the way it was. But since May of this year, I talk with many builders monthly, and we've just heard the same things. Overall traffic is down, leads are down. Many of the national builders are all seeing the same things. So, and the Google search trends goes with that. So we do keep an eye on it. But the thing here for 2022 to remember is that just like Eleanor was saying, the permits being pulled have increased. And then of course, 6,000 new communities are coming. So in 2022, the too many leads phase seems to be over based on everything we've heard. So where you're going to be faced with in 2022 is much more competition, right, than what you had, because literally people were just knocking down the doors to try and get a home and put a bid. And now, the market has changed. So I do feel that new construction can make a huge dent, going head to head with resale. And these are some tactics and strategies, I wanted to mention just as you are planning and deciding where to put your marketing dollars. So we just have a couple of items to go over. We've got, 5. I wanted to talk about, messaging is really important. So I didn't want you guys to forget about that. Omni-channel, of course, is a huge buzzword, and just reminding to look at your mix. And of course, there are a few traditional items you guys may still be putting into your budget. So I wanted to talk about that, as well as search and PPC, which is super important. And then how do you compare to the industry in terms of competitive information? So we love to show our funnel, that is actually specific to new construction. Of course, you've probably seen a million marketing funnels in your time, but things to consider are the different types of audiences you guys are reaching in your marketing plans, right? So you've got prospects who may or may not want a home, or they may or may not want new construction, right? They could be in the general market, they could be looking at resale. So in that customer journey, it's going to cost you more to reach that consumer because they're not ready to buy. They're not ready to go into the sales center just yet, but they are a valuable customer who may not buy a home for 6 to 8 months from now. So I don't want you guys to forget about that set. Before, I think you really didn't need to focus on prospecting last year because it was so hot. But now that's going to be something to really consider in 2022. And then, of course, affinity for new homes. We have that new home source audience, and all of our advertising products can help you reach that consumer. And then don't forget about those who have already shopped your website and, of course, are familiar with your brand. Keep communicating with them, as that's definitely a great place to get a really strong ROI. So I did want to talk about messaging. So this kind of goes in line with the funnel. Not only your creative message, but who you are. Who do you want to be to your consumer, right? Especially in 2022. So I did want to bring up that, recently, as much as, 3 to 4 months ago, there's been some really negative press for certain builders regarding, contract changes, cancellations. And if you think about this isn't, oh, sorry, I couldn't fulfill your shoe order, we had to cancel it. This is, you can't move into your dream house and their dreams are shattered, right? So this is a huge thing that we are going, as an industry, you guys will have to reinforce that they should sign on the dotted line with you, because that's not going to happen to them. So how do you give your buyer the confidence, right? And I just wanted to point out, a couple of builders. Meritage is awesome at really, talking about the energy efficiency and that their homes are going to save you money on the monthly bills. And a lot of people don't really calculate that when they're considering resale versus new construction. So that's a great tactic. Highland Homes is the bottom piece. I thought this was really cool on their website. They are actually calling out that the contract you sign is the price you will pay, that no matter what is happening in the market, if you sign that contract, you're getting this home at this price. So I think that is a really great way to address maybe some reservations that consumers may have right now.
I think that's such a critical point. We've done some research and heard from so many frustrated buyers. We do a lot of consumer research, and we've gotten so much anecdotal feedback that just so frustrated with the process. I mean, you hear the true horror stories of contracts being canceled, but also just phone calls not being returned, and just all kinds of, bad customer experiences that have happened, and really having to earn back the trust of our audience again.
And so I just have a couple of examples about, different messages that you could actually, show to your different shoppers, right? Because prospecting is going to be different than the new construction shopper who's ready to really like actually go to the sales center and look at the models. So then you have your already visited the website audience. So what is the message you're showing to them? So I really wanted to just point out that, you know, prospects and resale shoppers, they just need to know either what you're offering that's different or what you're about. And that's more of a branding. You know, this is community specific. So if it's a community, wow, there's 100 acres of open space, I'm going to click on that, right? Or you've got world-class amenities. That's really interesting. But then you could also go for your brand that you do hold that contract, you know, no matter what. So that could be the message and the reason for somebody to click, especially if they were in the consideration set and now they're not so sure. And then of course, the new construction shopper, we've got, you know, quick move-in homes, click here, it's this price point. Time and time again for the 6 years that I've worked here, the same ads work like every single month because that person is in research mode. They need to know if they build in their area, if it's the price point they want. And so, you know, those ads continue to work for us. But if you have somebody who's already visited your website, what can you offer them? You know, do you have a special? Do you have something going on? So that's something to really consider. This one is an invite, come out, you know, we're having food and music and fun and RSVP to come see this community. So I think those are really important to consider, especially people who are already aware of your brand. Is there an offer you could show them because they've already been to your website, they know what you're about, so offer them something to come back again. And again, this goes back to, you know, retail shopping. I mean, I get a million Instagram ads for makeup and hair care and all of these things. And I don't always buy something on the first click because literally 10 minutes later, after I looked at that site, I get the 20% off, right? Like I get the 20% off promo because they want me to come back and purchase that thing. And so I know we're not retail, but it's something to consider. Do you have a move-in special that you wouldn't necessarily lead with, you know, on your prospects or your new construction shopper, but do you have something you could offer to bring that person back after they've already visited you?
So Wendy, without throwing anybody under the bus, what are like some of the, you know, faux pas that you're seeing builders make with their kind of first take at their advertising? I know we work with them, we help them improve it, and we wouldn't let them run something that wasn't going to work. But what mistakes do you typically see builders making here?
In terms of messaging, I think it really, I mean, a lot of builders work with agencies. I've worked at agencies for years. So I do feel that branding is important, which is the first one, the 100 acres of open space. But I would never run that ad of a mother and daughter maybe, and a dog running on a new construction listing site, right? Like that doesn't work to that audience. And it's interesting because some people don't want to listen and they want to run it anyway. And then 3 months later, we put up our best practices for, you know, New Home Source, and it doubles the performance on the click through. So those are things to consider. It really depends on who your target is and who you're trying to reach, right? And that's really something to consider. So if you're doing all of these 3 channels, if you're doing the prospecting, the new construction shopper, and, you know, somebody who already knows about you, they should each have 3 different messages.
So the biggest mistake is just not being specific to your audience and
correct,
and not tailoring stuff. Cool, thank you. Asking for a friend.
Got it. Okay, so omni-channel. I know we've talked about this on past webinars. We have options that are more than just New Home Source or more than just Facebook retargeting. And I'm going to talk about, obviously, you know, video being one of those channels. So we do have basically, you have greater reach. If you can reach your consumer where they are in their shopping funnel, right? This isn't even to new construction, or how do they browse the internet? What apps do they use? You know, where do they go? And if you can actually reach them in 2 or 3 different places with a similar congruent message, it's just going to sit with them even longer, and you're reinforcing that you're there, you're a click away. And then of course, the greater response is true. This statistic is based on obviously a retail type of environment where it may be a pair of shoes or some makeup. Marketers use 3 or more channels in a campaign. They do see a higher purchase or engagement rate. So 250% higher versus just one channel. So really think about that as you're planning. Frequency is really important too, right? You can reach your consumer intently in different places, and that keeps you top of mind. If you're literally just sticking with one channel, which may give you a really great return, right? You may get the leads you want. It may be at the cost per lead that you want. And then you think, oh, why would I spend money elsewhere? It all works together. So eventually your payout is going to be greater in the long run. And then
It certainly is a big bun.
It's a very big bun.
Big fluffy bun.
It's a very big fluffy bun.
Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
Okay, admit it. You just love Wendy's because it's your name, and
it didn't have anything to do with my name, I promise. Like that ad, that totally dates me, but I still recall and remember, I mean, who doesn't know where's the beef? Like, and I was like a tween,
don't rub it in for those of us that are maybe a little bit older. So thanks.
But the point is, viewers reportedly retain 95% of a message when they watch it through video. So I know video is more expensive than any other marketing channel you could possibly do, but 80% of consumers now have a streaming video service. So that is huge. And that has been a result of, the pandemic. So people are changing the way they're consuming media, and you really need to be there. And I know it's a little bit harder to get that ROI or to prove that it's working, but you have to look at the overall uplift between all channels over a certain amount of time. And the crazy thing is, US adults spend an average of 3 hours and 43 minutes on their phone. Like, that's just crazy. Like, I hope I don't spend that much time because I'm working. But anyway, but then the mobile users, it's, by 2023, 295 million people are expected to have mobile. So that's crazy as well, because you can meet them wherever 24/7 on any device. So that is super important to remember. And I just want to reiterate, there are affordable video options. Before, video and commercials were for the big guys. They were for Subway and McDonald's and beer companies and Pepsi, because all they were able to buy was this huge DMA number, which was really, really expensive just for one 30-second spot. So I want you guys to think about that, because you can get targeted on connected TV. You can do a tighter geography. You don't have to spend a ton of impressions. You can get smart with how you buy it. And another question is, like, I go to builders, YouTube pages. Like, I look at the branding videos. Y'all have some really awesome branding videos sitting out there, but I just see them sitting on a YouTube channel, or maybe you're using it on your Facebook, but that's only going to be to your audience as well. So if you spent money on a branding video and you're not using it in video ads, I really think you're doing yourself a disservice. So please don't overlook that, because most people want an emotional response before they make any purchase decision. And that should include your dream home, right? So there are some really good builder ads out there that talk about that experience, and they put an emotional response to your dream home. You should totally be chopping that down into 30 or 15 seconds and sending it out, to prospects. So we have availabilities for connected TV. So if you're interested, definitely reach out. I would be happy to have another discussion separately on this.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear from any of our audience. If you can, you can private message me as well. Like if you're using connected TV today, and if you have plans to look at it for 2022, I'd just be curious kind of what your temperature is on this and kind of where you are in your thinking with it, because I think we're seeing some big success with some campaigns that we're running for builders in this area. And we're seeing more and more builders kind of adding this to the mix. And I think that's kind of why we're here today. It's like, what do I need to do different in 2022? There's some things tried and true. You're going to just keep doing them, but you've always got to be innovating and trying and experimenting too. So this is someone's asking if you could define connected TV. So can you
Yes,
just
great.
take a step?
So there, it's funny. There used to be two terms, right? There was OTT, which is over the top, which basically means they don't have a set-top box, they don't have DirecTV, they don't have cable, right? So basically, connected TV is a smart television that is connected to the internet, right? And we're able to serve those ads and identify that person because their television is connected to an internet connection through their Wi-Fi. And we're able to get really smart with how we serve those ads and who we serve those ads to. So, but it's funny now they're saying, oh, well, we're not using OTT anymore. It's just all connected TV. But there is a caveat, that this is for a smart television, right? So that you can track it, you know who that person is, you know what address they fall into, you know what demographic they are, we know the value of their home. So you can get very specific in targeting. And we do, when we do our connected TV, we do use our Neustar data to really layer in a smarter audience for you guys.
Yeah, I think almost every TV you buy today is probably a connected TV. Like any new television set you're buying today is probably connected
Right.
in some way. Andrew's asking, would ads such as YouTube be the best things for like announcing new communities or just general outreach?
I think YouTube pre-roll is valuable. The only issue is your viewed completion rate is much lower than, let's say, a connected TV ad, because in a lot of cases, Discovery Plus, for example, they don't let you skip, right? You have to view the entire ad. So that's just something to keep in mind, because you'll still pay for the impression, even if they skip 5 or 10 seconds, into the ad.
Yeah.
But yes, I do believe you could get smart with YouTube pre-roll if you wanted to introduce, especially if you already have a community video or a drone flyover or something that really shows what the community is about. If you think about it, you guys are spending so much money on virtual tours and visualizing what that home is on your website. Why wouldn't you visualize it through a video ad? It just makes sense.
And a lot of builders are starting to do it. So I'm super smart. And also when you were saying that, all I can think of is every time an ad comes up on YouTube, I'm just looking, I'm like just hovering over that, like skip in 4 seconds, the countdown button that comes up. Another question from Ginger, but Ginger, it's about keywords and phrases for Google search. And I think Wendy's got a segment coming up on that. So hang tight. You didn't miss anything. She said I had to step away, and she was making sure she didn't miss this conversation. Didn't miss it yet. Wendy's going to talk about it here in just a second.
Awesome.
Sorry. I'll go back.
Okay. So I briefly wanted to speak about the next generation, right? Gen Z is going to be your next home buyer. I think the oldest Gen Zer right now is about 24. And this is a great article from Deloitte talking about their habits, right, for consuming. And right now, playing video games is their favorite entertainment choice. So that's 26%, followed by listening to music, which is 14%. Watching TV and movies are their 5th choice of entertainment, where in other groups it ranks higher, more in the 30% range. So the other important thing is half of Gen Z ranks social media as the #1 way they prefer to get news, and only 12% prefer to get news from network or cable TV. So social media is it for them. It is their world. And this is another, future thing, I believe, 55% of Gen Z say media influencers and ads on social media are the two most persuasive channels influence their buying decisions. So influencer marketing could be your next channel to explore. It's kind of crazy. You've got TikTok, you've got Instagram, you've got 18-year-olds, making millions of dollars as an influencer. So this could be very interesting. And, just me thinking on the top of my head, the majority of these videos that are being made on these channels are from somebody's house. They're inside their home. So for a national builder, this could be something to explore, especially if you had a doggy wash station and it was, it was Jif Palm or something that needed a bath. And I don't know, there's many different things that may be possible, but this really needs to be considered. I'm not saying in 2022, but I believe it's coming soon, because in 5 years, that Gen Zer is going to be 30. So how are you going to reach that person? It's going to look different.
I love thinking about this and starting to talk about this now, because that's why we're all here. We're, like I said, we're not here to talk about all the things we know, tried and true. Let's think a little forward thinking here with how we're approaching our program. So thank you.
Okay, so I just want to say that I come from agencies that were 100% traditional media. They were billboards, they were direct mail, they were television, radio, you name it. So I'm just questioning, right, how billboards are priced and how the billboards were affected from the pandemic. So just something to consider, because the costs are based on a historical estimated road traffic. And think about the eyeballs that were missed during the pandemic because nobody was driving anywhere. But guess what? You paid the same price every single month for that billboard. Sign spinners, I know some builders may think this is a must-have, but if you think about it, they're also dependent on the traffic in the area. And there's no guarantee that X number of people will pay attention to the sign or even be able to recall the brand or builder. Especially if it's in a community with 5 different builders, you could just be sending them to your competition, right? So I want you to consider that as a marketing plan in 2022, because you really can do digital options that can work smarter and be very similar to a localized or targeted tactic. So what I would recommend, instead of doing that billboard or that, so many people are on their phones now, a lot of them, they always talk about millennials taking Ubers, so if they're not driving and they're on their phone, they're not even going to see the billboard, right? So we can reach them with geofencing. You can get local shoppers there. You can do it by addressable geofencing, or you can target competitors in the area. Just like our connected TV, you can get down to the local county level and you can track those sales visits as well. So the other thing with digital is that you can set that pricing per impression, so you know that you've got limited waste and you're only being charged for what is being delivered. So just consider that if you still have those 2 line items in your planning. Now, search. So do definitely want to bring this up, because this is the audience that you need to focus on for sure. I'm pretty sure the majority of what you guys are doing or spending most of your money on is probably, in maintaining your site, so it ranks well on Google, but also PPC. So 93% of all experiences begin with search. So basically you've got to be smart on the keyword, the key phrases, to help driver sales. And of course you can, with many tools, you can look up what the best search terms are in your area and what you should be bidding on. And of course your audience will tell you which community is hot, because you can search all of that activity and use that to your benefit, because basically, Google is kind of handcuffing this industry, right? And I think the next slide speaks to that, Eleanor. yeah, so, Google has updated and made many things hard for the real estate industry in terms of zip code, gender targeting, kind of like what we saw with Facebook. So really that comes to behavioral targeting or search term targeting. What are they looking for? And if that's what you want, you want to reach them on whatever that search term is, then PPC is your answer. I think we've got, yes. Okay, so this is where you can adjust your targeting based off the keywords you think a home buyer is searching for, right? And use the top keywords, and that will determine which pages to send them on to your site. You do want consistent messaging that will drive your increased conversions. And then of course, what audience of that PPC area is converting, right? Then you can have Google adjust behaviors and go find somebody that looks similar to that. Much like when Facebook allowed the lookalike targeting, this is a similar thing. You can use that with Google, and then you can readjust other campaigns to include demographics from a different paid channels. And I think there might be some questions, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, so we did have a question from Vanessa, just wanting you to kind of weigh in on what you would recommend for a smaller builder. Is there a preferable platform and strategy to see a difference?
In terms of just advertising channels in general?
I think so. I think it kind of came in, and it came in as you were talking about.
Yeah. So number one, I believe this, your base advertising is a listing, right? You need to have your communities and your homes like out and about for where people are going to search for that listing. So I know a lot of people don't think that's advertising, but essentially it is. You need to keep that up top of mind. And then of course you can find that new home shopper and be in that middle of the funnel there. And if you can't really expand into the prospecting budgets just yet, because that's where it gets a little bit more expensive, you just really need to go after people who already know your brand. And then also you can use PPC to help build your brand, right? Because if they're not, super, if you don't have a huge brand awareness in your market, you can go after that through PPC as well. So
Wendy, I just a quick question. So, how many builder clients do you guys work with on your team? It's like hundreds, and a lot of them are smaller. I mean, we work with builders of every size. So I think, that's something that's the advantage of having a team like the BDX team behind you, because we help you develop that strategy.
And really, we're not an agency, but we kind of like pride ourselves that we can give you customized solutions or plans and any budget that you have available. So definitely reach out to us. Like we're here to help you guys. And we do have about, 250 builder brands in any one given month. We run thousands of campaigns in a month. And so, we can kind of guide you with what's working for other people in your market. We can give you some competitive information about the market. So you at least have an expectation of what your response will be. So definitely reach out to your digital sales consultant, me, your account manager, and we're here to kind of help guide you based on what you feel that you have available to spend on marketing at this time.
Did you cover this one? Sorry, I think I asked
sorry.
you a question.
Yeah, I think I was answering questions. Yes, so the PPC falls within that prospecting, but it's a little bit more qualified because you're actually serving up an ad or something for somebody to click on because they're looking for what you have, right? So you're going to get a better ROI there. And of course, you know that somebody wants to look at new homes because that's what they're searching for. So then go serve them that ad and hopefully you have enough PPC and budget to spend that you're able to capture that versus a competitor. And we do typically see really good cost per leads from PPC. And so, you're only going to pay for what you get for what people actually act on versus impressions. All right. gosh, I feel like I'm talking so fast, but we only have about 15 minutes. So let me get through
Yep.
this. Okay.
You're doing great.
So how do you compare to the industry? This is something that we get asked quite a bit. You know, how does my performance compare to other builders? So a lot of times we're not going to tell you what your biggest competitor looks like or how much they're spending or any of that. We don't get into that much detail because that's obviously proprietary, but we can give you a guide on, you know, for this particular channel, you know, we're seeing a national average of X, or for this particular channel in your market, we're seeing an average, you know, click-through rate or whatever that is of X, right? And then of course, everybody does ask, how do I get to rank higher in Google search? And then of course, what are users doing or how are they spending time on my site? And so this goes into a little bit, you know, we have a full services team who deal with SEO. We do PPC, we do websites, you know, so we have really a cool option for you if you're interested in what's going on in these three areas. So I did want to mention, you know, BDX Blue is basically reporting that we can give you on an annual basis that touches each of these buckets, right? So the web index is actually, basically we have information in Google Analytics data for a ton of builders, right, nationwide. And so this is the other thing where we're not giving any one competitor's information away, but we're giving a look, you know, for, let's say you're a mid-sized builder or you're a large national builder. We would then include builders who are very similar to you guys and community count. And then you would be able to see what's the average conversion rate between all of these guys. You know, what does that look like? Am I on par with what's happening, you know, in that trend? So the web index is like super awesome. And we can give you access to that. It is like a subscription type deal. It's an annual contract, but we can also dig into an SEO analysis. Now, to caveat, you don't have to do SEO with us. You don't have to have a website with us. You know, this is literally available to you if you would want it. But I will say that if you do SEO with us or have a website with us, you do get a discounted pricing, right? So we can also provide heat mapping of what is happening on your website. Are people, you know, looking at which images are they looking at? Is their mouse hovering over a call to action? You know, all of these different things it's super and great information to have. And then we can tell you how to improve your site if there are any web vitals that, you know, have fallen off. And Eleanor can probably speak to InScene a little bit more than I can.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, InScene is just this really cool tool. You have access to it through BDX Blue, but it does some analysis. It reviews all of your images on your website or in your image database, and it is an artificial intelligence engine that's reviewing those images in a lightning speed that, you know, a human would take weeks to do, but it's categorizing the images and it's allowing you to tag them, give image descriptions, name them properly, all the things we know images need to have great SEO performance. But it's kind of a really manual process if you're doing it one by one and looking at an image going, okay, this is a kitchen with white cabinets. And if you had an AI engine that could do that for you and spit that back out to you in all those categorizations and descriptions, huge advantage. So it helps you kind of fill in that gap in your SEO programs. We see so many builders with beautiful images and, you know, they're named like image 264392.jpg. And it's,
yes.
you know, and there's no description, there's no alt text. And you could really just quickly with InScene take care of all that. So there you go.
Yeah, so this is really cool. If you want to get more information on this, I can get with you. You know, Daisy helps head the services department, so we could definitely get on a call if you're interested in SEO. Actually, I think, okay, I see Christopher's question. So SEO is based on a per community basis. So we can definitely get you pricing. It's tiered, you know, based on how many communities you have on your site. because that includes how many pages, we would have to upkeep and optimize.
Yeah, and just a reminder, folks, we're going to stick around. We're going to make Wendy stay as long as you ask questions. So let's go. Let's bring them on.
All right. And I think we just have one last slide. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with all of the products that, New Home Source offers, this is kind of a little visual for you guys. We have Smart TV, which is our connected TV. We have New Home Smart Premium, which are ads that run on newhomesource.com. We also have an agent retargeting piece, but it's actually sold out, so I can't sell you anything. We also have New Home Source retargeting on Facebook, right? So that's our social piece, which is completely different than your own social. This is a great way to reach new construction buyers in your particular market. We would just serve them ads through the New Home Source handle, and it would go directly to your site. We also have emails that could be used for realtors or consumers. So we can help you with e-flyers. We've got geofencing. We have, BBAC is what we call the builder remarketing, because if you don't have a white or blacklist, or you don't really know the first thing about, doing a remarketing campaign for yourself or for your website, we can help there. It's a very affordable monthly. We've got PPC, like we've mentioned. Our CSP is actually a community showcase package. So that would be great for a grand opening. It's a 3-month package that gets you kind of a little bit of everything on this board. And then of course, BDX Blue is super informational data that is very affordable in my opinion, because most competitive sites are, I don't know, Kantar, Scarborough, if you've ever heard of those guys. I mean, we're talking, $10,000 to $15,000 a year, and the only thing they would have would be general real estate, which is not anything to do with new construction. So,
And I'll just put a plug in for Wendy and her team here, because what I think is so cool about all of this is that she's tying it all together with the things she's talked about today. She's tying all these things together, helping you optimize your spend across all these different channels. They're doing really all the heavy lifting in terms of that analysis and planning and bringing you the data back to make informed decisions. And they're also gathering this super targeted, amazing audience on New Home Source and leveraging that across all these options.
And honestly, if any of you guys need help, or you're not even sure really what to allocate in 2022, we operate like an agency, without a retainer fee. So if you did want to set something up, with myself and your digital marketing consultant, like I'm happy to do that, because we really want to come up with a tailored plan that works in your budget, and that would make sense. So, but if you've already, know what channels you're going to be on, and you already know your budgeting, I just kind of wanted to reiterate some of the things to be considering as you're going through, your marketing plan for next year.
And so I'd encourage folks like Todd and Janet that have asked some really specific questions and want some really specific recommendations. And I'm not going to put Wendy on the spot and have her try to spit out a marketing plan in a second for you, but take her up on this offer. So her email is on this next slide here. So we'll get there in just a second. There you go. So you can email Wendy, you can get in touch with your digital marketing consultant and take her up on that. And, pick her brain a little bit with regard to your specific situation, whether, Todd's asking about a 12-unit, project he's launching, or maybe you have 3 new communities that are opening. She's seen it all, and she's got a lot of knowledge to share. So take her up on that, email her. We're done with the main content portion, so you can go ahead and open up your email, because I know nobody was multitasking during this webinar. So go ahead and you can open your email now and email Wendy and get that meeting on the books. So we've got Daniel asking, in Google Ads, is search or display ad, are search or display ads better for getting leads?
You will probably see your best result from a PPC type campaign where you can serve ads based on the user's search terms. And a lot of times the display, Google Display Network, not knocking that whatsoever, that can definitely work for you. But it's probably going to be more of a branding prospecting play, just because Google really limits who you can target on a display basis. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Folks, we've answered a ton of questions. So thank you everybody for chiming in there. We've had some people ask about pricing on different things. And of course that's hard to do real time. So that's another opportunity for a connection with your digital marketing consultant or directly with Wendy to start down that path of getting you pricing. And yeah, so I think we've covered a lot today, and really appreciate, Wendy, the expertise, all the new ideas, lots to think about. And, as you're going through this planning process, use BDX as a resource. And, we talked about a lot of different trends today, and, we're happy to help you understand how they apply to your unique business. So we're here for you. We want to be part of your planning process, and look forward to it. So thanks, Wendy. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for all the great questions. And that's it for today. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on our next webinar.
Bye.